Video game censorship. I've started to talk about video game censorship a little bit more on this channel, especially because it has come to light a little bit more in my eyes, and I've started to see a lot of it more and more, it feels, as like the years and the months go on. And to me, like, even though video game censorship is somewhat subtle, obviously when it comes to certain video games it's a lot more adamant and it's a lot more bigger than it is other games. But even when it's small types of censorship, I like to talk about it a little bit, because I think that, you know, censoring something even just a little bit to me is just kind of unnecessary. Like, I'm not here to, like, whenever someone censors a video game, and I'm not going to get all political about it and go like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But I'm still here to put my mind on it and give my opinions about it, because I still think that even if censorship is done, even just a little bit, it is bad, and I'll go into more details about that as the video goes on. But first, when it comes to the video game censorship we're going to talk about today is the new Sonic X Shadows Generation game. So, there is a new game that is coming out, I think in a couple days, actually. It's not even like a week from now. It's actually a couple days from the moment this video is getting released, where this is a somewhat kind of sequel to the original game Sonic Generations that came out back in 2011, where instead of playing as Sonic, you are now playing as Shadow, and as you are playing the game, it sort of like works on a parallel. Like, as you are going through the levels as Shadow, it is going as like the same time as the original game is going. But as well as having Sonic X Shadow Generations, they are also, the reason why it's called Sonic X Shadow Generations is because not only are they releasing a new game with Shadow being the protagonist within this game, they are also releasing a Sonic Generations remaster. So they are remastering the original game from 2011, that when you buy this game, you also get a remaster version of Sonic Generations as well, which is great to see. And whenever you think of a remaster or a remake, you would think that they would stay as, you know, loyal to the source material and not change anything from the original, especially things that you would kind of deem unnecessary. But it seems they have gone ahead and do so. As I saw this tweet that came out just yesterday, actually, but it only came to my light today as I saw it come up on my Twitter feed, where this guy mentions a couple of the censorships that is going on within this new Sonic Generations remaster. And like I stated at the start of my video, is that these censorships are actually quite small. They're not really like massive censorships, but at the same time, they are kind of relatively stupid from my point of view. We're going to look at the first one that he showed right here, where in the original game, Sonic is putting his hand in front of, what's her name? I can't remember her name. In front of Amy's face. I had to quickly search up her name because I used to play Sonic a lot when I was younger. As I've gotten older, I've kind of like haven't played it as much as I used to when I was little. But he's putting his hand in front of her face in the original. But now, for some reason, instead of doing that, he's now holding cupcakes in front of her face to distract her. And then if you go to the next screenshot that he showed, this is a description of Amy Rose, where it says, a young, cheerful girl hedgehog. Amy can be a bit obsessed about chasing Sonic. She even claims to be his girlfriend. She's an energetic go-getter who lets nothing get in her way. And now the remaster has come ahead and completely changed everything, saying, a cheerful girl who loves to help others. Sonic inspired her to be her very best. She's an energetic go-getter with the help of her Pico hammer and fortune cards. Nothing gets in her way. To me, this is completely changing her character dynamic, and I honestly don't get the reason why for it. I mean, you can make up reasons why, and you can call it this or you can call it that, but like, they're completely changing her characteristics. Her whole character is, she's meant to be this like girl who's like, you know, and she's a great character. Like I said, I remember playing Sonic when I was younger. One of the Sonic games that I played a lot was, I think it was Sonic Heroes. I played the absolute fuck out of that game. I played so much out of that game, and she's meant to be this like kind of obsessed with Sonic character, and there's nothing wrong with her. That's why in the original photo that I showed, the first one, why he's putting his hand in front of her face, because she's obviously obsessed with him, and Sonic's just kind of just like, this girl's annoying me a lot of times. That's her character. That's what it's meant to be. That's the dynamic that these two have between each other. And then not only was it these two examples that I showed, these were just the two examples that this initial guy actually tweeted about it. Then there was also other people showing different examples within the comment section as well. One of them being this one right here, between an interaction between Knuckles and Sonic, where Knuckles in the original version says, you did a good job back there. Hey, did you gain weight? Where the now remastered version says, thanks Sonic, now then tell me, where's the rest of my island? Completely changing the conversation and almost the dynamic between Knuckles and Sonic as well. And one of the ones that I saw a clip of is this right here is from the original Sonic the Hedgehog game, from the original Sonic generations, where Amy is having an interaction between Knuckles and she goes ahead and pushes him in the face and it whacks him into a tree. Absolutely kind of like slapstick comedy kind of stuff. Really funny interaction between both of them. Kind of shows off the dynamic between like Knuckles, Amy, and Sonic all together. But now in the remastered version, instead of when she pushes him in the face, instead of like flying all the way back in the tree, he kind of just steps back a couple steps, completely like getting rid of the whole entire slapstick comedy between both of those characters. And like Sonic is meant to have that kind of like slapstick kind of comedy in it. It's meant to be a lighthearted game. I mean, it's meant to be made for kids, even though, let's be honest, even though the game's like a kids type of game, more adults would play this game nowadays because they are the ones who grew up with this game. But like I said, those are just some examples of the censorship that is like being adamant within this Sonic Generations game. And now when it comes to the arguments that people are making against all of this stuff, because I feel like whenever there's people that are coming out and saying like, hey, we don't like the fact that our game is being censored, we don't like the fact that our game is being changed, there's always people on the other side who have no intentions of ever playing these games. Majority of the time, there are some people who still play the games and they just like, oh, we don't really care about this type of censorship. But even then, there's some people who don't even play the games who are just like, why are you complaining about this stuff? Just, if they want to do this, go ahead and let them do it. Well, to me, and also one of the other arguments that they make, which to me is kind of like one of the stupidest arguments that you can make, is that, oh, them censoring this and them doing these changes is not that big of a deal. Well, if it's not that big of a deal, then why change it in the first place? I mean, if it's not that big of a deal, then they would have never censored these things and they would have never changed these things. So to them, it obviously is somewhat of a big deal because they are going out of their way to actively change these things within the video game. Because if it wasn't a big deal, then they would have just left things how they are. And one of the reasons why I am massively against censorship, even when it's such a small thing, to me, when it comes to censorship, no matter whether it's big or small, it's not a good thing for video games, especially if it's a small thing. Because when it's something that's small, if you ignore this small censorship, then the companies are going to see that, hey, they actually didn't mind. They didn't even notice. And as a matter of fact, they didn't care, even when they did notice, that we censored these parts of the game. And then next time they go to make another reiteration of a game, or they go to make something completely new, they'll like push that censorship a little bit more. And then because they've only pushed it a little bit more, you'll go like, oh, this isn't that bad. It's not that much further from the original, from like when we were censored last time. And then they will just keep on going on and on and on, to the point where then games are going to be completely changed and completely put into a state where you don't like it. And games that are like this, it being a remaster or a remake, are completely changed completely from its original source material. And that's not what we want. That's not what gamers want. That's not what actual fans of this series want. They just want things to remain how they are. If you are remastering a game, what's the point of changing it? Like you're obviously making a big deal out of this because you've changed it in the first place. So it's obviously a big deal to you. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have changed it. And you would have left it exactly how it is. And the fact that you were changing it, to me, is worrying. It really is. Because if you were changing this, then in later iterations, in later new editions, what more are you going to want to change? That it's going to get to the point where the characters themselves and their personalities are not going to be what they were. The interactions between characters are not going to be what they were. And you're going to try and completely change the dynamic of a whole entire video game. For what? For your views? For your own benefit? It doesn't make sense to me. Especially when you're changing something and you're censoring something within a franchise that has existed for so long. Sonic is older than me. Sonic is old. Sonic has been around for so long. Why change it? If you want to change things, if you want to make iterations into a game that are your own ideas, make your own thing. Don't go ahead and change source material that has been made and been there for a long time. Don't do it. Make your own game. There's no point in changing something like this, because to me, it's always in bad faith. When people go ahead and censor things like this, it's never in good faith. It never, ever is. But I would definitely like to hear what you guys think about all this down below. That's going to be it for me. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Peace out.